Hey guys, this is my weekly newsletter, but video format because I can't concentrate enough to type. It's even very hard for me to concentrate enough to do a video. This is like the fifth time I've started. So I just wanted to come on and show you and, maybe draw on the chart a little and just go over the week ahead. There's a lot at play and it was almost hard for me to grasp. So it's better, I think, for me to explain and talk it out rather than type it out this time. Today, the moon's in Pisces. And this honestly is, I think, what's contributing to a lot of my distractedness. I don't know about y'all. Pisces is the sign that rules, we could say, escapism, mysticism, dreams. And it's very kind of distracting, diffuse energy, and the moon's there. Jupiter is just about to leave Pisces, so the moon's just hung out with Jupiter, and that can tend to expand that feeling of just, it could be confusion. It can come out a lot of different ways. Okay, so that really dominates the next 2 days. Really, 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 really. To almost, you could, I hesitate to say crippling, but to make it very difficult. Okay. Not really understanding which direction to go, how to feel, or maybe feeling too much energy, too empathetic, too intuitive, maybe too dreamy, too spacey, to all of this. I tried to meditate today just to, there was like literally nothing else I could do, I felt like. Okay, so that being said, yes, this dominates. I'm now looking at Tuesday here, and that's probably going to ramp up with the moon hitting Neptune, which is also very Piscean. So Neptune is the modern ruler of Pisces. The traditional ruler is Jupiter. Both of them are there. So, I don't know. I just feel like it's going to be quite spacey and weird for the next couple of days. Let's see here. Mercury tomorrow, Tuesday. This is Monday, July 26th, so I'm talking about Tuesday, July 27th now. When the moon and Neptune come together to create that sort of illusion, is another word for Pisces, Neptune energy. So today and tomorrow, it's just a lot of squirrely territory. And then tomorrow, Mercury is at the 29th degree of Cancer. That's the last degree of the sign of Cancer, also known as the anaretic degree, or the degree of crisis, right? So Mercury has had a lot of Cancer to put up with. It's gone fairly quickly, though, through the sign. But that combined with all of the Pisces, it just adds to the need to really lean on our intuition and lean on that spiritual insight, but don't plan to be too focused, I don't think. So I'm just thinking of what else might be going on Tuesday. I think that's the biggest story. So Tuesday night at 8:45, Mercury does move into Leo. Leo Mercury is much different than Cancer Mercury. Leo Mercury is very creative. It wants to shine. It wants to talk. It wants to be jovial, optimistic, have fun. So it's the trickster in its element, quite frankly. We also have the sun in Leo, obviously. That's Leo season. That's what we call it. So you take those qualities and you apply it to the sun, which is our solar power system. Okay, it's how we shine. The sun is at home in Leo, rules Leo. So it's going to feel quite, we're pushing for fun. We're pushing for that creative energy, that spark. Do you guys remember what normal summers used to feel like? I think that's what we all want in our hearts, right? But we know it's different. And that is indicative of Saturn in Aquarius here. So for the next few days, Mercury and the Sun are going to move opposite of Saturn. That's going to be, it fills the road with obstacles, okay? So Saturn is the taskmaster in Aquarius, which is the future and social structures, humanitarian principles at large. So, I mean, it's the masses, really. And then also how we connect with that. So Saturn's like, you know, don't forget about what we have to do as a community. And the Sun in Leo and Mercury in Leo are like, but we want to have fun. We want to go out and do the summer thing. So that's like really active starting Tuesday, I would say, because Mercury moves into Leo and the Sun's at 5 degrees. That's enough. It's going to start applying and just grow. I often say energies are more like a bell curve in astrology. So even the day of the Saturn Sun opposition, I mean, sometimes it's quite palpable. Sometimes it's the build up and the come down. Okay. So we're starting that Tuesday. And then let me clear this out because we're still talking about Moon and Pisces toward the end of the night. It makes a quick, brief sextile with Pluto that night. I mean, I don't know how, that's intensity, right? Intense illusion. Ugh, Pluto and Capricorn. Okay, so Wednesday morning, this is the story that Wednesday's sort of a big deal, okay? Mars is at the 29th degree of Leo. That's the last degree. So Mars is our ego and passion and motivation and action and all of that. And Mars is quite the troublemaker. So I need to move my video up because I look like I'm looking down when I'm talking to you. It can be quite the troublemaker. Mars and Leo, again, pushing for that inner child to be satisfied. And so sometimes that looks like, you know, I'm not going to care about important things. I'm just going to feed my ego, right? I mean, that's at its lowest sort of vibe. But Mars in Leo also is intensely creative. Again, it's fire planet in a fire sign, and active and, you know, fun, really. Hopefully, you know, it's either that or it's annoying. But the thing is, it being there is enough on its own. But Jupiter is about to move into an opposition with Mars, which also means Jupiter is retrograding back into Aquarius. It's kind of a big deal, okay? So let's see what hour that happens on Wednesday. That happens at, looks like, when do we wake up? 7:45 a.m. Okay. So we immediately have a Mars-Jupiter opposition. At the same moment, Jupiter moves into Aquarius. Now, Jupiter in Aquarius let's talk about that separately. Jupiter is philosophy. It is higher education, travel, but it's expansion, most of all. I mean, Jupiter's the gas giant, right? So it expands everything it touches. It's the god of abundance. It also rules law. So, you know, it is the archer. It rules Sagittarius. So I'll often think of, you know, the arrow when I think of Jupiter, just wanting to go for it. That's a Jupiterian thing. And having that in Aquarius, there's a lot of astrologers who say, okay, we're going to have, you know, more lockdowns. You could totally look at it that way. Law comes into Aquarius, which is a Saturn ruled sign, Jupiter. So you really have the two planets that we look to for law, rules, structure, Saturn and Jupiter. Well, they just came together. Of course, they're retrograding back to the same sign. So we had this at the very beginning of 2021, the end of 2020, the Jupiter Saturn conjunction in Aquarius at 0 degrees. This last full moon that happened last week activated that Jupiter Saturn degree. It was here at the very beginning of Aquarius. So it's like, hey, reminder, this Aquarius stuff. Aquarius is the community, like I said, at large. So you think of how we socialize, like even through the internet. Aquarius rules the internet. It rules innovation, future forward thinking. But it is, I think, like if you were to talk about what science it might rule, it would be sociology, right? So it's how we as tribes, gosh, it's tribalism, right? Like interact. We all have our own tribes, and that's at the micro and the macro. That's a fact of life. Now, of course, Aquarius is innovation. So, I mean, that's why it's come to rule utopian concepts. But that's like the evolved Aquarius, right? Aquarius is also leadership. So all of these things coming back up. Now look to where Aquarius is in your chart. That's very important. Okay, now we can blend the fact that Jupiter's coming back into Aquarius, which people think maybe more lockdowns. Saturn's there as well. Jupiter kind of gets hemmed back in by being in a Saturn ruled sign. It's not at home anymore. It loved Pisces, but man, as much as Jupiter traditionally rules Pisces and it was great there, and I think next year is going to be great with Jupiter and Pisces, I'm looking forward to this Jupiter in Aquarius. I'm looking forward to a revisitation of the things that I feel like we were propelled out of before we were finished. So this is a wrapping back up. This is a tooling of plans, of blueprints of how we do things, and we need to redo some things. That being said, the opposition to Mars is quite agitating. It expands ego. It expands this need to break free. So, you know, Jupiter in Aquarius is like, man, I really need to redo this. And Mars and Leo is like, but what about the beach? Like, we're supposed to be, you know, so it's quite an interesting day. I think it's going to have maybe tempers flaring. Hopefully it, you know, at the better end of the spectrum, it will lend itself to creative inspiration. And I do think those are possible things. Some people would say I'm too positive or optimistic about these things, but I do think that you can, especially depending on how it's interacting with your chart, you can really channel this into an epiphany moment, okay? This also does highlight the fact that we have this fixed T-square with Uranus. Now, none of these are exact right now, but by sign, that's a lot of Leo, a lot of Aquarius, a lot of Taurus energy, okay? So the best way I can say is these are pretty intense times. It doesn't mean there's no fun to be had. In fact, Jupiter opposite Mars might mean a lot of passion, right? So yeah, go get it. Okay. The moon will be in Aries Wednesday, which, oh, there's more fire. Yay. Okay, so passion's high, physicality, you know, is, but by the way, don't do anything dangerous on Wednesday. I think that's a really good reminder that I like to remind people. Not that if you if you plan to go skydiving, well, then maybe this is just reflective of that. But I always like these Mars moments are something to look out for when you're driving, when you're passionate, when you're driving, road rage. Watch people, man. It's active already. You can see it's been building up, right? So it's just exact that day. All right. So especially with the moon in Aries, I say so one more time. That day is pretty much the only thing on my radar for this week that I'm like, ah. Okay. So let's see. Venus is in Virgo. That means Mars is about to move into Virgo. I'm pretty excited about Mars in Virgo, honestly, because I have Mars in Virgo, maybe. Let's look at Thursday. The moon hits Chiron overnight, which is healing. And that's really healing that Aries warrior part of us, which I find interesting that as we sleep, that happens. I think, yeah, 3:43 a.m., at least here in Birmingham, Alabama. All right, so that's sort of the big story of the day. Although that evening is when Mars moves into Virgo. So yeah, that's going to be a palpable change, I think, especially after that big explosive day of Wednesday. Thursday is really interesting because Virgo takes it back in. You know, Leo is like, yeah, look at me, bit fire energy, right? Virgo's like, ooh, let me bring that back in and be, let me worry about it. But no, let's plan. Let's make a plan for how to do these things, right? So that's what Mars and Virgo energy is about. It's about exact movement. It's about knowing exactly what you want because you've focused and you've gotten the details. So it's the person who knows exactly how to say something or exactly the right comeback. That's Mars and Virgo. So I'm looking forward to that, okay? Mercury and the Sun move a step closer to opposing Saturn. But I think Mars and Virgo is the big story for Thursday. Forgive my little pause, but I'm looking just to make sure. We wake up Friday morning with the moon square Pluto. I think it just depends on the person for how sensitive they are to these moon Pluto aspects. I think that was more palpable during Cancer season, but still, it can result in some intense feelings, especially with the moon in Aries. They're brief though, so you might wake up a little irritable Friday, maybe sleep in a little bit, you know, if you can. And then, yeah, just at the same time, the moon does sextile Jupiter, which kind of expands that at that last degree of Aries. So something to look out for. Friday evening, the moon moves into Taurus, and I think Friday through Saturday is going to be the next sort of big. Wednesday's big. The whole week is full of these aspects, and that's why I had to do a video on it, because it's just moment by moment something hits, right? Okay, so what's hitting Friday evening is the moon in Taurus, which highlights, again, the fixed T-square, fixed signs. Whoops, I pointed at the wrong thing. This is also the third quarter square of the moon phase. So let's go over that really quick. Let me get my little spotlight. There's the sun. When the sun was here at that new moon, we had the first quarter square in Libra, then the full moon in Aquarius after the sun moved into Leo, and then opposed. The third quarter square is here in Taurus to this Leo sun, and it's the last adjustment from that new moon in Cancer. That's already a little bit of a kind of, squares are not exactly fun. It's a little bit of a creative tension, but also this is with Saturn here on the opposite side of the sun. So what we've got, or opposing the sun, I should say, what we've got is obstacles, rules, limitations. Again, and this is like right around when school starts, man. This moon in Taurus transit, so Friday, Saturday, it's got potential. I mean, it is the closing moon phase, so it's got potential to feel like you know where you want to shift things in order to relieve pressure, especially when that moon hits Uranus Saturday morning. This could be a push for freedom. but it also looks like there's something to push against, if that makes sense. So a rule, limitation, something like that. The COVID cases are going up. Like we don't have to really do too much mental gymnastics to see where we might be going with Saturn and Aquarius opposite the Sun in Leo. This is not party boat summer again. I said that in 2019 about 2020, and I was right. I haven't quite said that this year yet until now. This is like the end of summer is definitely coming fast. Okay, so the school starts right around then. I would just look for this weekend to be formative in all of that. So honestly, it may result in everyone partying while they can, right? Who knows? Let's look out for it though. Sunday, well, first of all, the moon hits Uranus Saturday evening. This is also an awareness of where we need to shift our values, where we can push for freedom to relieve pressure, and it will be pressure relieving. But overnight Sunday actually is interesting because let me go back to Saturday. Sorry about that. Saturday also has moon trine Venus. So Venus is about to activate this Venus-Uranus trine as well. So that's a really nice addition to this moon and Taurus transit, which could be hopefully that's going to feel like a nice shift. Like, oh, I know exactly what I need to do. So maybe it's just Sun opposite Saturn that I'm looking at for that other stuff, for the rising COVID cases, schools starting back, and what that might mean for quarantine and rules. And, it's hard to do anything already. Like, I think it's already starting to ramp up. Okay. But that Venus in Virgo is like, we've been here before. We know exactly what to do, I think. And we know how our values are situated in this particular moment. Sunday, the moon just keeps transiting Taurus, and it will square Jupiter. It just interacts with both the Leo and the Aquarius. So, Sunday just holds much of the same tone as Friday and Saturday. So as you can see, if you've watched or read any of my newsletters, you've seen what I've said about the fixed square. Find where Aquarius, find where Leo, find where Taurus is. Those are going to be active, especially the Leo Aquarius right now, because the Sun is coming into an opposition with Saturn. Now that day, by the way, is Mercury hits that opposition first. Mercury and the Sun come together at 9 degrees of Leo. Oh, that is Sunday morning. So the Mercury Cazimi is Sunday morning. A Cazimi means in the heart of the Sun. Usually that results in a kind of a jolt of inspiration, but because it's also in this square with Uranus, I would definitely say so. So Sunday really may be very innovative, I hope for some jolt of inspiration. But we're also in the opposite Saturn territory. So that means, like I said, there's going to be something that comes up to rebel against, to have to innovate around. Okay. So that being said, Sunday night, really, the Sun moves to the 10th degree. So Sunday night starts that exact Saturn Sun opposition. And then Venus is coming into an exact trine with Uranus. Now, Venus trine Uranus is opportunistic in my eyes. I really believe that. So Monday, while we do have the Saturn Sun opposition, which is going to feel oppressive, Venus is trine Uranus, which is going to feel freeing. So it's just such a mixture Sunday going into Monday. I really think the hardest day this week is Wednesday. The most confusing is going to be today and Tuesday. Wednesday is the Jupiter move into Aquarius opposite Mars in Leo, and Thursday really holds that. But Mars does move into Virgo, so that gives us a little. Wednesday seems pretty intense, though. Yeah, I hope this made sense. to everybody. I just couldn't type it out. So looking forward to, honestly, I think I'm looking forward to maybe the Sun-Saturn opposition. Like I said, because I want to go back and redo some things. I'm ready to like get back into, I don't know. It's like a space similar to last year, but not exactly. I just know that I want to redo some things. I want to replan. I want to go back into that space because it was such a fertile space that I don't think utilize as much as I should have. And that's my own personal way of looking at it. So anyway, thank you very much. This is it for the Astro Weekly newsletter. Maybe I'll be back to typing it next week. All right. Have a good one, you guys.